everybody. I'm Melissa Levy. I am with NATO. I kind of play a dual role um, at NATO. So I actually work at NATO part-time. Uh, I do basically everything related to wealth creation at NATO. And then in the other part of my time, I actually do consulting work. Um, I do consulting work wherever there's work. But since the economic development district community of practice started, that's kind of how I've integrated my work into NATO. So let's see, one more person. Um, yeah, and I have a presentation to share, and then we'll do some talking, we'll get to know each other. And where is my presentation? Here we go. Okay. Um, okay, slideshow. Okay, so I'm super excited to see you all, and I have a lot of information to share. Anyway, this is our first session of, I think we're doing 6 months. So I'm really excited to get started. My objectives today are to get to know each other, to kind of just review the timeline of what we're doing and what it's going to look like, and just do some basic like intro to wealth creation principles. So that's my plan. And I know I've set aside an hour and a half for this each time, whether we need it or not, we'll see. But I'd rather set it aside. And if we don't need it, I can release you all early. So I thought we'd just do some basic introductions. Um, just like name, organization, and I was going to say favorite fall food, but anything fall related since we're approaching fall. I'll start. I'm Melissa Levy. I already told you that I'm with NATO and I'm also with Community Roots, and I serve as the WealthWorks regional hub for the Northeast. And I am based in Heinsberg, Vermont. And I am very excited about fall because of like apples and cider donuts, which I've already had. And the donut part is not good. I have to stop eating cider donuts. But I think maybe I will call on people just because to make it easier, if that's okay. Jared, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm Jared Purdue. I'm with the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission. We have 3 counties in our region. We're the EDD. And favorite fall food, we're getting into tomato soup and grilled cheese weather. I'm super
Ooh,
excited. Be cozy and have some grilled cheese and tomato soup. Happy to
excellent.
be here.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Um, Colleen,
Sorry about that.
that's
I'm
okay.
Colleen Nelson with Lake Champlain Lake George Regional Planning Board.
My
We
neighborhood.
are, yeah, we're in Lake George. So, but I'm the senior planner here, and I guess I'm going to go with the both soup and donuts,
Mm,
all of it.
not together though, right?
No, well, one's for dinner, and one's for dessert.
There you go. Waiting, oops, waiting in the lobby. Oops, why can't I get, oh, okay. We're moving. Sharon?
Hi, I'm Sharon Astron, and I'm with the Association of Central Oklahoma Governments, or ACOG, but I know there's lots of ACOGs. So, yeah, I'm the Central Oklahoma one. And my favorite fall thing is hatch green chilies from northern New Mexico.
Mm,
So, like hatch green chili chowder, hatch green chili cheese grits, all things hatch chili.
excellent. Okay, that's intriguing. I'll have to learn more about what that is, but yeah. Lane.
My name is Lane Burgess. I'm with the Southeast Idaho Council of Governments in Pocatello, Idaho.
Hmm.
And so I'd say my favorite fall food harvest is happening, starting right now. So we have potatoes being harvested. So I'm going to say baked potato covered in chili.
Ooh, wow. Okay. It's a good thing I had lunch already. Edwin.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Edwin. I'm a planner two, just became a planner two for the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council. So we see places like Orlando, Sanford, Titusville, the Space Coast, 8 counties overall. I work in the economic development section of our office. And favorite fall food, I
Yeah.
would definitely say sweet potato pie.
If you need help, we
Sweet,
can pick it
That's
up
my
and move
favorite.
it.
sweet potato pie.
Yes.
Nice. I've made that. It's very good. It sounds weird, but it's delicious.
Oh, it's
Um,
amazing. With like burnt
yeah.
marshmallows. Oh God, yes.
Oh, thanks, Edwin. And I know
Thank
your
you.
area. My in-laws live in Titusville, so
Oh,
I've been
nice.
there. Spend a lot
Awesome.
of time there. So,
I actually just finished a economic plan for them, so that's
oh,
funny. Yeah.
good. Great. All right, Cassidy.
Hey everyone, my name is Cassidy Cameron and I'm with the Kenai Peninsula Economic Development District in Kenai, Alaska. We cover economic development for our entire borough, which is like a county size of West Virginia. My favorite fall food is the smoked salmon. So we just finished our salmon harvest for the summer and now everybody prepares their salmon in different ways. So smoked salmon chowder and dips and just salmon. So I'm
Salmon.
excited for this time of the year. It's kind of our harvest season and it's a good time to be up in Alaska.
Ah, fantastic. Thanks, Cassidy. Andy?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Andy Shaw with Blackhawk Hills Regional Council in Rock Falls, Illinois. We are a 6-county regional planning organization, EDD, on the Iowa and Wisconsin borders, that far corner of the state of Illinois. So that's where we are. Gosh, with food, I wasn't even thinking of anything except like Oktoberfest beer. I was thinking like,
Oh, that counts.
but then somebody said chili, so I guess chili is sort of a thing. I don't know. I'm not a good eater, I guess. I'm not into food as much.
That's okay. Oktoberfest beer counts. I love
Okay,
that too.
good.
Yes.
All
It's something you have to wait for all year and then it's
Yes.
here and then it's not there anymore. So I'm with you. Okay. Thanks, Andy. Chris.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Back. I'm the Economic Development Coordinator for Kentucky River Area Development District, 8 counties centered around Hazard, Kentucky. My favorite fall food is pumpkin bread. My wife makes the best pumpkin bread. That's why my
Excellent.
cholesterol is so high and my A1C is so high.
Okay. Well, I guess it's good that it doesn't last too much past the fall then, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Jess.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jess Schwager, and I'm with the Oklahoma City Community Foundation, and I was invited by Sharon Astrom with the Association of Central Oklahoma Governments. And my favorite fall food is really anything with corn. I love cornbread. Yeah, cheesy corn. Yeah, anything like that.
Lovely. I make cornbread because I'm in Vermont with maple syrup. So everything maple syrup, it's very good, but I'm with you. Okay. And yeah, thanks for joining us. So I'm going to just stop for a second because I know I asked in the applications for people to bring a partner, and I'm not sure people quite understood that, but I appreciate you being here, Jess, because I think what I explained, and you'll see as we go through this, is it's a team sport, right? Like you need partners to get this work done. So I encourage anybody, if you want to include a partner in your region, feel free. Like these are, especially to these, these kind of over these like early in the month calls are really meant to show you a piece of the approach and hopefully take it back. But anyway, thanks. David.
Hey everybody, I'm Dave Struck. I am the Economic Development Coordinator for the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments. or SEMCOG as we call it. And so we represent the 7-county Metro Detroit region, pretty large region. And also happy to have Ian McCain, one of our community partners, on the call. So how you doing, Ian?
Excellent. Great. Thanks. Oh, and favorite fall food?
Oh, well, I mean, I can't pick just one favorite, I guess, but
Oh.
I'll say I'm a fan of a lot of what's been mentioned. Grilled cheese, chili. Yeah, sign me up.
Perfect. All right. Welcome, Ian. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Seems like a good segue. Thanks for the welcome, David, and good to be here with you all. As David mentioned, I'm part of a small 5 square mile, 34,000 person slice of SEMCOG known as East Point. We're an inner ring suburb that shares a border with the city of Detroit. So I'm really happy and excited to be here with you all today and learn more about the wealth creation program. So thanks to David for inviting us to be part of this program.
Wonderful. Thanks. And last but not least, Jenna. Oh, traveling. Didn't want to miss the content. Oh, sorry. I can't see. Okay. Jenna's the Economic Development Coordinator from North Central PA with the North Central PA Planning and Development Commission. Okay, great. And I think Lashana is on also. Did I miss you, Lashana? Okay. Her AI is on, but not her. Okay. All right, onward. Great. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna I just want to kind of give you all a little history of this approach and some of the real basics, like kind of like the first step in the process today. And then there'll be a little bit of very basic homework assignment, and then we'll reconnect in a couple of weeks. But that's kind of the way I see this working, is like the first call of each month is kind of a learning call, and hopefully some interactive. I try to make it as interactive as I can. And then the second call is kind of to check in on the assignment and see how it went and any questions folks might have or strategizing. It's kind of how I've been thinking about this. So we'll do it, through, I think the last day is, when I originally marketed it, I got the dates. I went longer than it needed to go. But yeah, anyway, that is how it's going. So what I wanted to just do is kind of a real basic introduction to WealthWorks, some of the key concepts, including the history and the intent, some of the principles, and then the forms of wealth, and some information on kind of stocks of wealth versus flows of wealth. So this approach began in 2006. It's been going a long time. I was lucky enough to be there kind of when it was starting. I worked for a consulting firm called Yellowwood Associates here in Vermont, and there was a contract officer at the Ford Foundation who wanted to develop a new framework for rural development that incorporates, principles of equity and sustainability. And he engaged the firm I was working for to kind of help develop it. And so I had the good fortune to be there from the beginning, and I've been using it pretty much since then. There was 10 years of testing in the field, and that in the poorest parts of the US. That was what the Ford Foundation wanted, was to put it on the ground in 3 regions. We started in Central Appalachia, then the Deep South, and then the lower Rio Grande Valley in Texas, along the Texas-Mexico border. It was really successful, even during a recession. We had put grants, the Ford Foundation put grants on the ground in those 3 regions to actually work through the process and build value chains, which we are going to get to later on in the cohort. It's since been adopted by USDA, certainly NATO, ActionAid International, and a wide variety of other agencies. I actually just had the opportunity to do a project in Afghanistan with it. I didn't have to go. It was all working from afar, but it was fascinating, and I'm hoping to share some of the learnings from that with you as well. And it's basically a framework. It's not a cookie cutter approach. It's really adapted to each new opportunity, which is why I think it really lends itself to a cohort like this. And my hope is to kind of convey the basics of it, how it works, some case studies. I'm hoping to engage some other EDDs to share how they've used it so you can hear the EDD perspective. And I'm really here to help you get started adapting it to your place, whatever that might look like. The intent was really to change the way rural development is practiced in the US from, an traction, extraction, and supply-based approach to a more demand-driven approach. It's meant to help low wealth rural areas overcome their isolation and integrate into regional economies in ways that increase their ownership and influence over a variety of kinds of wealth and lead to improved livelihoods. So the real intent was to connect rural and urban places, right? For rural areas to be responsive to demand in urban environments. So, and it's worked that way. These are some of the guiding principles behind it. It is demand driven. We're not talking about like saying we have this thing, come get it. It's really about understanding what the market is wanting and trying to connect what we have to offer. It's intentionally inclusive. We want to make sure that it includes that we're engaging folks throughout our region in these kinds of opportunities. We generate wealth through WealthWorks value chains, which again, we probably won't get into today, but we will get there for sure. Measurement is integrated into the entire process. And that's not only for planning and adaptive management, but also just for understanding our progress. And we really think about wealth sticking in places through attention to structures of ownership and control. And finally, it is flexible, and we want to make it as flexible as possible so you all can integrate it in whatever way makes sense. And that's the other, well, I'll get there. Oh, okay, this isn't doing what it was supposed to do. Why isn't it? I'm sorry, I had a Mentimeter here we were going to do together. I'm going to back out of this for a second and see if I can get it to work. Sorry. Gosh, what a pain. Anyway, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. Let's just keep going. I'm going to make this work next time, though, for sure. Because it was I just like using it. It's kind of fun. And where did I go? Okay, we're going to move forward and not worry about it. And oops. All right. Okay, we're going to do this instead, which is basically the same thing. So I was going to have you do it in the Mentimeter app, but we can do it in the chat or we can have folks unmute. So I like this exercise. It's really about like what makes your community special. You've all seen those top 10 places to live lists, right? And for different things, best public transportation, most culture, all of these things. Anyway, Vermont, where I live, is one of those places that's often on those lists, which is lucky for me. But the idea is, what kinds of assets do you have to work with? Now, I'll start just because I've done this exercise a lot of times. So the place that I live in Heinsberg, which is about 20 minutes outside of Burlington, is, I think what makes it special is it's pretty small. It's like 4,500 people, but we have a lot of natural resources. We have a lot of recreation assets, a lot of trails. We're on a lake, part of a lake. The lake actually is bounded by like 5 towns, but we are one of those towns. And it's also the kind of place where like I go to we have our own like locally owned grocery store, and I go to that grocery store and I see lots of people I know, and it often takes longer to get out of there, but it's really nice to have a place like that. So I would love we can do it in the chat, or if you want to unmute, we're definitely a small enough group that I think we can do that. And yeah, so have at it. I'd love to hear about your place and what would land your place on a top 10 places to live list.
I can go.
Yeah.
So, and I'll just, we have the 7 counties of Southeast Idaho, but kind of more central is the Pocatello, we call it metro area, but there's only about, 60,000 people. And what makes it really cool is that we have this kind of a smaller, still a small town feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
We still have our rural aspect. We still have kind of that small community, but we are only a stone's thrown away from Boise, from Salt Lake. We have Yellowstone just down the street. So we're centrally located, small town feel, but we are surrounded by, if you want those amenities, they're just right there.
Excellent. Wonderful. Okay. I hear Chris just put in natural beauty and a number of institutions dedicated to preserving and promoting the region's cultural heritage. Excellent. That's great. Anybody else want to share about their place?
Yeah, I can jump in and I'll let David share from a regional perspective if he wants. But for East Point, the 2 things that kind of popped in my mind as I was thinking about it was affordable housing. We are very much a bedroom community, 1950s suburbia, whatever you want to call it. So it's always interesting, like the connections that people have when I meet them, when I say I live in East Point or I work in East Point. Oh, I bought my first house there, or I rented a house, when I was just getting started in my career or whatever. So, or I started my family in East Point, right? So, and it's because we have, this housing stock that we don't have a bunch of huge houses, but they're just what you need kind of when you're, in the beginning of your life. And then some people, stay here their whole lives too. And the other thing I would say is our parks. We have everything from my favorite little park that I have 2 blocks south of me, Rain Park, which is just a little triangle right in the heart of a neighborhood, but it's got a little walking path, all the way up to Spindler Park, right? That has like a much bigger walking path, a little building where we can hold events in. And so, yeah, that's a little bit more about East Point.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing, Ian. I'm seeing what other people have said. Edwin is saying diversity in businesses, small and large, and institutions, and accessibility to socioeconomic resources. The Orlando region has a great diversity of things to do outside of the theme parks, thank goodness. And you have access to meet people from all over the world. Jenna says social cohesion. Excellent. All right. Last call for anything. Oh, all right. Jess. Oklahoma has 12 different ecoregions, which makes day trips from central Oklahoma around the state fun for hiking, exploring. We have the OKC Thunder. That's like a sports team? I guess. It's a good name. Cost of living is low, strong, supportive communities. Excellent. Thank you guys for sharing. NBA basketball, I figured.
I'll just kind of piggyback off of what Ian had to say. But in our region, I mean, we have a great deal of parks, trails, and recreation, access to water, great entertainment and sports in the Detroit area, a wide variety of cultural amenities and diversity in neighborhoods. We've got smaller and larger traditional downtowns and shopping corridors. So there's really something for everybody in our region. which adds to our quality of life.
That's great. Fantastic.
I'll jump
Thanks.
into.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So yeah, the Kenai Peninsula, Alaska is giant geographically, but population-wise, we're very close-knit, and so that sense of community is through and through our communities that are spread out over a huge geographic population. I always say that there's about 3 degrees of separation here in Alaska versus 6. And that lends itself to people being really resilient and being trusting enough to rely on one another. And so they're able to find solutions to challenges in a community driven way, which is great. And we're isolated that way. So we do rely on one another, and it creates a really high sense of community. We've also got fantastic landscapes, glaciers, oceans, rivers, world-class fishing and hunting, and a lot of outdoor work up here. So quality of life is very high, and we're very lucky.
Wow. Excellent. Sounds like I need to visit all these places. Okay, well, great. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it. I'm going to move us forward, but we're going to keep sharing over this. I'm hoping this group will all get to know each other, and we'll have kind of more involved conversations. This is just the first step. So, cool. And feel free if you want to add in the chat anything else that's on your mind, but I'm going to move us forward. So this approach is really an approach to economic development that connects a region's assets, which is why I had you talk about assets, to market demand in ways that build rooted wealth. The idea is to, move from our assets to what we can do with them, and try to keep that wealth local, right? The idea is to bring together a wide variety of partners, which is why, part of the idea was to have a partner with you, who have self-interest in the outcomes and openness to discovering shared or common interests. And at the nth degree, it's really about building a sector, a market opportunity in a particular sector, rather than, individual and unrelated businesses. There are 3 really key principles, and if you take nothing out of today, this is what I'd love you to take away, is it's really about building wealth, and aspiring to do no harm to any of the forms of wealth I'm going to introduce you to. It's about rooting wealth through local ownership and control and influence of assets, and it's about building livelihoods. And the idea is to try to integrate people and firms on the economic and social margins. So in this approach, as you probably have guessed by now, wealth is not just money. It's the reservoir of all assets that contribute to our communities. I love this approach because it really gets at like every place has wealth, and it does. And in this, so there's lots of different approaches that have different forms of wealth. We started with the triple bottom line, and this approach was built off of the triple bottom line, but then it kind of broke things apart in different ways. And so these are the 8 forms of wealth that we talk about in this approach. So intellectual is really about knowledge and innovation, creativity, and imagination. Individual is really about skills, individual people's skills, education, and health. Social capital, which I definitely heard a lot about, is really about trust and relationships, about that close-knit community that I heard about. Natural resources, natural capital is really natural resources. And I guess I should say these are, when we talk about wealth, we're talking about like not degraded forms of wealth. So like a polluted lake would not necessarily count as natural capital. We want to have healthy resources. And anyway, I'll move us forward. Built capital is not only physical infrastructure like roads and bridges and buildings and sewer systems and all of those, but it's also information infrastructure like broadband and fiber and all of those kinds of things. Political capital is influence on decision makers and shapers, but it doesn't necessarily mean politics. It might mean, influence on a large anchor institution in your place, or a big, like a hospital or a school system, or it could be any number of things. It can also be politics, but it's not just politics. Financial capital is savings and investment. Again, debt wouldn't really be financial capital because that's kind of a negative. And then cultural. Now, cultural capital is traditions and customs and art and things like that, and ways of doing. And sometimes cultural capital can be also negative, right? Like in that, it may be we've always done things this way, which can be good and bad. And we use these capitals in a variety of different ways. One is just assessing, like, what do we have? What do we have to work with? Another is designing strategies, like how do we design strategies to actually have impact on these different forms of capital? And then we also use them in measurement. And I work with groups to figure out how to measure success using these capitals. And we'll talk more about that too. And then I just wanted to talk about stocks and flows. Now, this is like kind of, I don't know. I'm sure you guys all know this, but I like sharing it just because, yeah, because there's a difference. So most projects focus on income, which is a flow of capital, instead of on building wealth, which is really a stock of capital. And the way we always think about this is the bathtub exercise, right? So the bathtub is the stock of wealth, and there's flows in and out. The income is what raises the level of the water in the bathtub, and the expense is what lowers the level. So when we're talking about wealth, we're really talking about the stock. But clearly those flows are really important to understand too, like what's coming in and what's going out. And you can use this example with not just clearly you can use it with money, but we can use it for other things too. And so what we try to think about is not only the investing, you can see the investing going into the tub, and then the consuming coming out of the tub, but then really thinking about reinvestment. And so this is pretty basic, but you can think about this with pretty much any of those capitals that we were just talking about. There's typically an investment piece, a consumption piece, and a reinvestment piece. And we could belabor that. I mean, we could have a whole call just on this because there's a lot behind it, but I thought I'd just introduce, kind of spark your thinking about kind of those flows into it. So one more question is, which form of wealth are you best at building? This is an exercise I often try to do in person, but where we actually walk around and talk to each other and learn how to do this. But I'm curious if any of you have thoughts about the capital that you might be most, what did I say? Best at building. So I guess I'll start because I'm trying to model these things. So I guess I would say individual / intellectual, because I do this, like I teach people about WealthWorks like a lot. I've been doing it for a very long time, and yeah, anyway, I don't know. It's hard to say good things about yourself, but let's try. Anybody? Again, you can put things in the chat. You might be really good at bringing people together. I mean, I would guess most EDDs are really good at bringing people together, right? In collaboration. That's my assumption. I also think is that EDDs are generally good at finding money. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I would.
in fairness, we are good at finding money. Unfortunately, those funding opportunities have dwindled,
Yes, they have.
and we've really had to become much better at what we do in the grant writing phase of our program development. And it's a much more competitive world right now, and I'm sure my peers out there will tell you the exact same thing.
Yes. Yeah. No, I appreciate that, Chris. It is, times are interesting, but and not without challenges right now. So I actually just not to be self-serving, but I think this approach is even more important right now, actually, to really distinguish ourselves and to try to like build opportunities in our space, in our places, right? To build new opportunities that maybe don't require outside resources. So just a thought. Anybody else want to share anything they feel like they're good, any other form of wealth that they feel like they're good at building?
I can say,
Yeah.
well, sorry, Ian. You kind of touched on it with economic development districts. I feel like so much of my job is building that social capital with our communities, with our residents, our partners, and nonprofits, but also that political side of it, and maybe not just you mentioned not just elected officials, but really as an economic development district, so much of what we do has to be those elected officials.
Definitely.
And just trying to get the county commissioners to work with the mayors and the city councils. And I mean, that's a big thing, a part of what we do. And I feel like we do it, and it's not just me, but I think probably everybody on this call does that fairly well.
Yeah. Excellent. Oh, yeah, I bet that's true. Cool. All right. Partnership building. Thank you, Cassidy. Making connections amongst, yeah, absolutely. You guys are doing social capital, you're doing political capital. You know, you really need to have social capital to build political capital, right? Like once you create those connections, you can roll them up to higher levels. I guess another thing I should say is in the time that I've had to work on this approach with communities and regions. What we've learned is those first, those first three capitals are really the foundational capitals. Is that we've really learned through, doing this work that those are really foundational to getting anything done. And you've kind of shown that in kind of your responses. It's like you have to have the good ideas and the creativity and imagination of intellectual capital. You need to actually have the skills to put those things into practice, right? You can have great ideas, but if you don't know how to operationalize them, then where are you, right? Or you can have the skills to get things done, but you may not have the creativity and the ideas to make them, to kind of have that spark, right? And the trust and relationships, the social capital is incredibly important to actually operationalizing those things as well. So that's another thing I should have mentioned is those three. Not that the others aren't important, they are, but to get any of the rest of it done, you need those first three, right? You need ideas, you need skills, and you need trust and relationships. So anyway, that's just a bit of my learning from doing this. So I'm going to bring us back. I'm going to keep us going. So the second principle we were talking about is wealth without ownership isn't rooted. So this approach is really focused on building wealth locally or regionally. We're all in regions, right? So building wealth regionally. And the idea is when you own assets and capital or capitals, you're actually capturing and controlling the flow of benefits from those capitals over time. So creating those enduring and stable benefits. There are a lot of benefits that flow from local ownership that can then be reinvested. We talked about the stocks and flows, and if you're investing locally, the benefits presumably stay local, or we hope they do, and they're reinvested and recirculated locally. I'm sure you've all seen the I don't know, the statistics around like $1 spent locally, right? And how it keeps recirculating in the economy over and over. So same thing, same idea. That can happen not only with money, but with other things like technology or education, or people that stay in your community can use their great imaginations and skills. And then it also has the potential to preserve local jobs if we keep these capitals circulating in our region. So it's a really big piece of this, and there are so many ways of doing it, and I have a slide about it. So these are just some examples of how you might think about, the structures of local ownership and control. I'm sure you're all familiar with buy local campaigns, regional branding, that counts. This is a region that I worked in, Genesee Valley in New York, where they did some real regional branding around their tourism and recreation. Cooperatives. I'm actually getting ready to get a piece out about a poultry cooperative in Virginia that's helping, poultry farmers keep their wealth local and work together. And then resident-owned communities. This is something you don't see everywhere, but you see it. There's some great examples in New England and also out west. I feel like in Montana has some great resident-owned communities that are basically manufactured home communities that are bought by their residents. So there are a lot of really interesting ways of making wealth stick. I actually did a piece, and I should get somebody on these calls to help me with the chat and the links and things. I will next time. But I do have a piece that I wrote about structures of local ownership and control and how you can start to think about that. These are just a real basic, this just kind of scrapes the surface. There are so many interesting examples about how to do this. And then building lasting livelihoods, which is really like, how do we make sure that folks in our communities are earning and saving more, having improved skills so that they qualify for better jobs and build their careers. And it's really about building assets. So not only building assets in our region and in our communities, but also in our people. How do we create opportunities that can employ people and keep them in our region and successful? So, yes. So I have been doing this at NATO for a couple, I guess, 2.5 years now. The Economic Development District Community of Practice has a bucket of work around wealth creation, and I've been doing that. And through that, before this, I wasn't really thinking about wealth creation for EDDs, but it's really given me the opportunity. And what I've seen is these kind of 3 buckets of how EDDs are using wealth creation. And we're gonna go through this through the cohort, but the first is really focusing on assets and how do we integrate wealth creation into our SEDS. And that's, in my experience so far, that seems to be through the SWOT and through measurement. I have some great examples to share with you, which will be our next, the early October call. We'll really talk about the SEDS and how folks are using it and what that looks like. There's also this kind of middle point, which is about like getting sectors working together, which is kind of exciting, is getting businesses in a sector to collaborate in ways that aren't competitive, but that kind of build their mutual benefit. You could call that co-opetition, is what I talk about it as sometimes, which is really cooperating, but while also competing, right? But there are ways that we can cooperate that don't that are good all that provide mutual benefit without, being in our way. And then finally, we're going to get into value chains, in a particular sector, market opportunity. And that's we're going to do that probably in the middle of the cohort. We'll start talking about how we might select a market opportunity to at least play with in this process, and do some mapping and understand how that all works and how you might do this in your place, with partners. So this is the continuum I've developed since I've been at NATO about how EDDs are using wealth creation. I think there's some great examples, and I'm hoping to get some of those folks on to kind of explain how they're using it, just so you don't just hear from me, so you hear from actual people on the ground. So yeah, anyway, this is the timeline as I've kind of put it together, just to remind you. I've sent you all calendar invites for all of this, so you should have them on your calendars, but I thought I'd just walk you through where we're going. Today is our get to know each other, get to know the real basics of the approach. The next time, and we'll have another call in September, and then our second session will be about the SEDS. We'll talk about how EDDs are really using it in the SEDS and give you some examples, and hopefully get somebody to talk to you about how and why they do that. And then we're going to kind of launch into this idea of value chains. And the first part of that is really understanding demand. So that's probably where I'll share kind of the work that I did in Afghanistan, because that is really fascinating and has to do with they had no idea. Some of you have great ideas already for a sector you want to work in or a market opportunity, but in Afghanistan, they had no idea. And so I'm going to probably share with you kind of how we got to some ideas. And then we'll go into, actually identifying market opportunity, mapping an actual chain, and then figuring out once you map that chain, then what? Then what do you do? And what you do is you figure out those gaps, bottlenecks, and underutilized assets. And then we'll finish up with a kind of a how is it going and what comes next. And yeah. Anyway, I do have homework for you. It should be real simple. It should be fairly easy. And I will, why can't I see this? Okay, there you are. I do have all these links, and I meant to do it while I was talking to you. I'm gonna put them in here. Just links that might be useful to you as you walk through this stuff. There's the community of practice, that training conference is coming up soon. I'm doing a wealth creation session there. NATO News, if you're not in it, has a lot of resources. And then a couple of wealth creation. The NATO wealth creation website has all the work that I've been doing at NATO related to wealth creation, including a lot of resources. And then the WealthWorks site is actually the original. There's some really cool learning tools and videos on there. But I guess the other thing I wanted to share is the homework can be found. It's actually on the wealth creation page. And why can't I get to it? Okay, I'm going to go out. I really need somebody to a helper on this, and I will have one next. I was like, I can do this myself. I don't need anybody to help me, but apparently I do. So anyway, this last link is where you will find the assignment, which it's called Asset Tools on that page. And I'll send it to all of you also. I'll send it by email, but it's basically to do a real basic asset inventory, which we kind of prefaced by talking about our most impressive assets, but it may help us as we move into the SEDS piece too, just to have that. I mean, if you think about assets as strengths, it's like a quarter of your SWOT, right? So yeah, there's that, and there's this cool, okay. Do you still see this, right? Yeah. This spider diagram tool is really fun. It's kind of like this, it's similar to the asset inventory, except you're talking about the strength of your assets. So I like doing it with groups. I actually have done it in communities where you have a whole bunch of people from the same place doing this spider diagram. And it actually creates some really interesting conversations. You can imagine that people's perceptions of different kinds of assets can be different, right? Even in the same community. So anyway, I'd love for you to do both of these. They really shouldn't take you very long. But you can find them at that link. And they're called asset tools. I think they're in the same kind of document, but it would be a great way to practice your understanding of these forms of wealth, and like we can share our places next time, and what we learned about the strengths of our capitals and things like that, if that makes sense. Any questions? I've been just rambling, and any questions about anything that I've talked about or we've talked about today so far?
I have a quick question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, David.
Oh, thanks. I was just going to ask, where you intend to share either the recordings or the PowerPoint slides?
Yes, that is an excellent question. There is a cohort page, and I think I'm going to do it there. I'll take all the application stuff down and we'll make it kind of our home base. So yeah, we'll have the recordings, the slides, and then I'll probably have a link to the homework on there as well. So yeah, that will be a really good home base for us that you can always go back to. And then for anybody who can't make a particular call, they can go back to the recording. I don't think I'm going to record the second call of each month because I think it will be more free form, I guess. It won't be kind of presentation based. It will be more discussion. So I don't think I'm going to record that unless it's useful to you all. I'm fine doing it either way. And I might actually, just because I don't know, how do you all feel about this platform? Like, I struggle with Teams, but that's what NATO uses. I also have Zoom. I don't know how people feel about different platforms, but I think I'm having trouble going back and forth from the chat and like presenting in this platform. And so I may switch us just because I think Zoom actually makes that easier, or like I don't have to like be in like 3 different places at once. But if folks have strong feelings one way or another, speak up. No.
Either one
Zoom,
works.
yeah. Zoom typically works a little bit better for my org, but I can make
Okay.
Microsoft work as well.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I may switch us. I like both for different reasons. Like, I love that in Teams, this chat will be here for the long haul. Like, we can go back to it. That is the nice thing about Teams, is we can, although, yeah. And Zoom doesn't really allow that so much, but yeah, it's a little less stressful for me. Not that I'm the end all be all, but anyway. Okay, that's helpful. So homework. So yeah, this is what we'll talk about on our next call in a couple of weeks, is like how this went and what we learned. And yeah, I think I'm excited to learn more about all of your places through this assignment. Oh, and yeah, I did put these here already. So the WealthWorks website, like I said, is like the very, this is from the beginning. This has been a great website. There are learning modules. There's really great success stories and some videos and all sorts of cool stuff. And this is the NATO site, which I've been putting together. It actually looks like there's more to it now, actually. There's the cohort is one of these links here. But there's all sorts of stuff here too that might be useful. And we had and the hubs. So there are regional hubs that actually are like steeped in this approach. So that's me up in the corner. Community Roots is my consulting firm, and I actually work all over the country with it because I've been doing that, and I kind of have a bit of a national platform. But there are groups in other parts of the country that do this work. You'll see not all of the country is covered, but I kind of see myself through NATO covering wherever I can cover.
Melissa,
And then
we can't see your screen.
Oh, okay. Oops, how did that happen? Okay, I'm sorry. Gosh, see, this is my issue with Teams. I was showing it and then I wasn't. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. So this is what I was showing.
Here we go. Okay.
Yeah, so I was showing the WealthWorks website and then the NATO website. And then I was showing this hub map. Sorry about that. So yeah, there's some great organizations doing this work in other places. And I'm happy to make connections to any of them if that's useful to anybody. And then finally, as part of the community of practice, we were meant to have 2 wealth creation summits. Now we had one last summer in Greenville, South Carolina, and you'll find on the wealth creation website here, there's actually, I mean, it's not there. Well, it probably is under training materials. Or I think there might be, this is an old image. There's actually a tab on it that says like events. And so you'll see if you go to that we had a summit, and a lot of the presentations from that summit are up on that site. But I'm actually planning another one in April. So by then our cohort will be done. But if anybody has any, I was kind of hoping people might want to go and kind of share about their learning at the summit. I recognize it's probably not convenient for everybody because it's in Oregon, but we're doing it in combination with Rural Development Initiatives, which is based in the Pacific Northwest, and they do some really interesting wealth creation and a lot of really cool economic development work. So we're doing kind of a joint meeting with their regards to rural. Anyway, I thought I'd share those dates in case it was something you might be interested in to save the date. And this is me. You can reach me. I didn't put my phone number on there, but I can share that with you all too. I'm happy to chat in between if it's useful. Before this cohort, I instituted like office hours, and I guess maybe I didn't promote them well enough because nobody really ever took me up on them. But I'm happy to reinstate that if people would find that useful. So, and this cohort, and I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, I may have, is part of the Economic Development District Community of Practice, which is supported by the Economic Development Administration. So they're pretty excited about NATO's cohorts, and this is the newest one. So pretty exciting. And that is actually all I have for you today. So I guess we didn't need an hour and a half, but I'm also happy to answer questions, or just if folks have things on their mind that or want to share about, I would also love to hear, actually, if you guys don't mind, I would love to just check in on like any kind of expectations folks have, or things they're really interested in learning, or any questions that they're hoping get answered through this process. But I am going to stop sharing because I want to see you all. So before I release you, if there's anything on anybody's minds, anything they're really hoping to learn, or any questions that they're hoping to have answered as part of the cohort, I'd love to know what those are.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to learning more about value add with the supply chain. We have a lot of agriculture in Southwest Michigan, and how can we further process that and make products here would be beneficial. Now, I'd love to learn more about your experience with the poultry co-op and kind of the reasoning to get behind that, but we can touch base offline too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've done quite a lot of work in agriculture, like just as part of my life. And food is the easiest way to describe value chains. As you can imagine, everybody eats, everybody has some sense of like how food comes to us. So, and it is it's a very linear chain. Not all chains are linear. Some chains like recreation, tourism are much more like network diagrams, right? That like a tourist interacts with all of these different entities, and it's not quite as like linear as like an agriculture chain. But yeah, that sounds amazing. Others, anybody else want to share kind of what their hopes and dreams are for our time together?
Yeah, I'll just say that. Go ahead.
I was gonna second what Jared said. I'm really interested in that add value chains, and specifically with the food manufacturing, because that's a big thing in our area.
Excellent. Okay, great. All right. Yeah, Lane.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we're pretty deep into our SEDS update right now, and so I'm particularly interested in how we can still, interject some of these concepts into our SEDS, and seeing some different examples and best practices and all that. So
Yeah, excellent. Well, yeah, that's where we're going next. So, and I do think the homework is part of what I counsel folks to do in terms of engaging with the SEDS. It's kind of like the first step, like what do we have? And then, there are some great, we have a SWOT tool about how to use wealth creation in the SWOT. And yeah, I'm hoping to engage. There's a great EDD that just redid their SEDS, taking a complete wealth creation approach that I'm going to hope to bring her in to talk about how she did that, because it's really impressive and I love using it as an example. So I'm going to try to get her to join us for that early October call. So yeah, thanks, Lane. Great. Anybody else? And I'm also like, I'm a little bit of an introvert, so I totally understand if you don't want to say something, or you want to write something, or you want to send me a note, that's fine too. It's all good. But,
I'll jump in.
Yeah.
It's interesting because somewhat similar to the work that SEMCOG is doing, we're in the process, partially thanks to SEMCOG funding, actually, of updating or rewriting our master plan and creating an economic development and placemaking strategy. So one of the things I asked our consultant recently is we're like gearing up for some community engagement sessions is, folks in our community, they're not necessarily experts around all of these topics, right? Like we use all of these wonky words like economic development and urban planning and placemaking, and they're wonderful and they're great, but I think sometimes we have to step back a little bit and make things a little bit more bite-sized and palatable for everyone, including ourselves, right? And get out of our way a little bit. So I kind of like how this is broken down, and I think it's for a lot of folks, it's thinking about wealth in a different way, right? Like beyond just the financial piece that I think is the standard paradigm. So much like I think David and others, I'm trying to think on how we can incorporate this in our planning and economic development in the future.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I appreciate that, Ian. I do think, especially for communities that are used to thinking you in like a deficit mindset, it's really nice to put them in a positive light, right? Like regardless of what issues you might have with your community, there are positives that we can build on, right? And that's what I do love about it, because I do work in a lot of, or I have done a lot of work in a lot of you know, poor communities, and it's trying to get folks out of that mindset of like, we don't have anything and we're poor and we don't have things to work with. And that's never true, right? I mean, they might be poor in terms of money, but they often have a lot of amazing things to work with. So, and you know, building that pride in place is really important, not only for us to start, so we can have it kind of filtered down to the individual level, right? It's anyway, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay. Yeah.
Just real quick, I also look forward to us talking about how Michigan maple syrup is far superior to anything else. So hopefully we can touch on that throughout.
Okay. Wow. That sounds like a throwdown. Okay. All right. Well, you know, if we all meet in Bend, Oregon, we can have a taste test. Um, okay, excellent. No, I'm open. Okay. Anybody else?
I just have a quick question.
Absolutely.
If we didn't bring a community partner this time, should we be bringing one the next time?
It's really up to you. I just thought it would be kind of interesting and you know, again, if you want to build a value, if we're actually thinking about something on the ground, it often is helpful to have someone, but it's really up to you, your comfort level of having someone engage. But yeah, I'm all for it if you want to.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I kind of mentioned that in the application, and I don't know how people feel about, you know, people's partners they're all different, right? And some of them may be closer than others, and this may be a way to bring them closer too. So, and it's, you know, it's supported, it doesn't cost anything, so why not? But it's also fine if you don't. I just thought it would be a nice opportunity to build some social capital in your place, you know, around this. So cool. All right. Well, we don't need to stick around till 2:30 just because I said so. So I've really enjoyed getting to know you all, and I'm really excited to get to know you. I mean, we have months to get to know each other better, but I'm really glad that we set a little bit of a foundation for our work together. So yeah, thanks for coming today. I'm really excited. I'm going to do my best to, you know, make this as interactive as we can, even on these calls, and I hope you'll bear with me. I'm going to get that Mentimeter to work next time for sure. And also, you know, try to bring in some speakers for us to learn from, so it's not just me. But yeah, really excited, and you know, reach out if you have questions or shoot me an email or whatever as we work through this together. So yeah, thanks so much for being here. And yeah, we won't always take that hour and a half. I just like setting us aside because you never know. But some will probably be shorter and some will be an hour and a half and some will be an hour, and we'll just go with it. So yeah. I hope you all have a great weekend. It's Friday.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you so
All
much,
right.
everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Everybody.
everybody.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.